Hey everybody, welcome to What Culture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Josh.
Hello again.
Hello. Now, there are all sorts of details in regards to the new Metal Gear movie. The movie that is in development.
Yes.
It isn't in production yet. But Kong Skull Island director Jordan Vogt-Roberts is basically doing the rounds, trying to get the word out as to the status of the project and how he wants it to go forward. He's released like a whole bunch of concept art online on Twitter for the 31st anniversary of the game itself. And he's also recently just been on Collider talking about the way that the project's going to go forward. Or how he wants it to go forward, and confirmed that the first draft of the script has been submitted to Sony, and so I guess we'll see how we go.
Yeah.
But the conversation around the project is fraught with variables, let's say, or nuance.
Lots and lots of variables.
Yes, because there's been past Metal Gear movies in production. There's always been a way for it to go forward. It's a very cinematically focused franchise, but it never got off the ground. And it's just kind of worth describing that because I can't hide how much I adore Metal Gear. And for me, everything that Vogt-Roberts is doing is like just take the scenes from the game and make the movie version, and that's cool. But the counterpoint is
cool.
obvious. The counterpoint is well worth breaking down.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, the way this guy's been talking about this movie, his heart is in the right place, and I love that he's been so open about a movie that isn't sort of like in properly active development with like the green light and stuff. It's a very confident showing of this is how it's going to be, and it's getting people like us like really hyped for it. Like, my God, this is the Metal Gear Solid movie we've all been waiting for by a guy who clearly understands the source material. And yet, you brought up one thing there, Scott, that kind of hit the nail on the head of why I'm slightly apprehensive about it. More so just video game adaptations in general.
Yes.
You said taking the cutscenes and sort of the art style and putting them into a movie. I can't wrap my head around in a way of why we need that when it's already done so well in the game.
Very true, and he said that he's not just doing that.
Yes.
He said that he's like, obviously Vogt-Roberts is a huge fan of Metal Gear. He grew up on the games. He basically, the way he's approaching it is he said that you need to think of the qualities that video games bring to entertainment in general.
Yeah.
And he said that there's already been some brilliant video game movies. They just weren't based on video games. And he cites things like Snowpiercer or Edge of Tomorrow. Like Edge of Tomorrow is all about respawning and lives and all that kind of thing. And he says you need to think of it that way. So he sort of like approached Metal Gear that way, and he sort of took it like, you take it as an entire franchise.
Yes.
And a lot of the concept art that you can see online is just picking and choosing different things. In one of them, he has Grey Fox going up against one of the Walker Gears from Metal Gear 4, and just things like that. So he's kind of approaching it that way. And the guy on Collider asked him, like, look, which game is it based on? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And he obviously can't say, but he said that Metal Gear Solid is a huge influence, and he said that the original Metal Gear games on the MSX are a huge deal.
That was interesting. I didn't really expect that. That was really cool.
Because another one of the concept art shows Big Boss and Solid Snake, with Solid Snake being interrogated by Big Boss. We're going to go full character names for the most part, and just hope that you can keep up.
They know.
I'm assuming people know their Metal Gear for the most part. Not getting all lally lule lo shalashaska, but
here all day.
We'll stay down the middle path. But it seems that he's basically approaching the entire franchise and then just picking and choosing. And then the way that he's described the themes of the franchise, like the idea of war and patriotism and like suffering and trying to do what's right for your country, but also you as an individual, all the philosophical elements that go into it. It's a whole lot of stuff.
It is a whole lot of stuff.
And the way that he's approaching it seems to be that he wants to cherry pick all the best things that make Metal Gear, which I love. And just, I don't know, some of the ways that he's like described it when he talked about the quirk and some of the sort of like psychosexual horror that's in Metal Gear, which is obviously kind of waxed and waned. Like Quiet is horrific, but some of the stuff in Phantom Pain outside of her is like this weird blend of like sexiness and also horribleness, and that seems to be like a Kojima trait.
Cool. Yeah, and again, like that sounds great. He really understands that, like the themes, like you said, and like what makes these games tick, just like outside of the really great convoluted narrative. Again, for me,
you mean the immaculate, well-written?
Oh, it's immaculate.
Conceptualized.
It's well-written, but it is goddamn convoluted. I don't know how you fit that into a movie. Like you said, he's taken inspiration from a lot of not just one game. He's taken inspiration from the whole series and trying to compact it into a movie, which I assume they're wanting to be a franchise. And yet, here's the thing, for me personally, as a video game and movie fan, I just don't know what video game fans want out of movies like this, myself included. Every other video game movie that's come out is either being too close to the source material to a fault, Tomb Raider including, or gone wildly in another direction where you sort of lose the spirit. I have yet to see one that merges that sort of feel perfectly, where you retain what made the source material so great whilst making it it's like their own and justifying its existence in a way.
Well, I'm actually totally with you on that because we like fundamentally, and sorry to Vogt-Roberts, if you somehow see this, we don't need a Metal Gear movie.
Right.
So it's like you've got to go. It's this uphill battle to even make it worthwhile. Like obviously you can do some amazing things with it, but I think that whole idea of like making a movie of a video game taps into this like older mentality that films are somehow like the highest possible point, the peak of where any sort of entertainment ephemera can get to, and we just have to make a movie version. That's the most thing you can do.
And it's valid now, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that somehow validates like the story or something, and it's like I mean, I know he has the greatest respect for the games, like that's come through like 100%. But that's the thing, like what can a Metal Gear movie bring to the table that the games haven't already done?
Yeah.
And does it even need to? And it's like I mean, I'm interested to see what a decent sized production can do, but it's like I mean, Vogt-Roberts has talked about this, like what are the fundamental elements that make us enjoy video games versus movies, and like you know, active entertainment versus passive entertainment, and all that kind of thing. I know, and then that's like a hell of an uphill thing to go against, but that's for me, that's a logical comment on there shouldn't be any video game movies at all ever.
That exactly, especially when you say he's sort of using the conventions of video games to put them in a movie, because we haven't really seen that except from like an Edge of Tomorrow, but it worked well in those movies because they weren't games.
I know.
Whereas we sort of have the games, we have those mechanics in something we can actually play. So to see them in the movie itself, sort of, it's like if I was doing it, because I know the best. But I don't know. I just, for me, I can't really grasp why if you were making a movie of it, why you wouldn't use the conventions of cinema to sort of push those ideas differently rather than just taking what made the games so innovative and like unique and putting that in a movie setting. It's I'm struggling because I'm excited for it. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
For it. I'm just struggling.
It's
internally.
It's interesting because I mean you look at the way that Kojima's own cinematography and direction changed over the years. Like you look at his direction in Metal Gear 5 and it's all one takes, and he's always been very Hollywood influenced. Yeah. But you look at him in Phantom Pain and there's just this like deftness. There's like this, or even more of like an auteur in terms of his like visual style, like his sort of attitude towards the way that he frames scenes. I think there is a way to shoot a Metal Gear movie that would make people think of that game.
Yeah.
Or might make people think of like, you know, certain other shots in like even in the original one, the first time we see Metal Gear Rex or things like that. There are like shots that you can bring in like that. But it's interesting because it's like how much is Metal Gear fundamentally rooted to gaming as a medium, and how much do you have to like detonate those foundations to make a game, like to make a movie, and that's the most interesting thing. But I mean, in terms of we've seen this done before. Look at the Uncharted fan movie that we got just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
That was a way to take an entire franchise and just kind of put it together. And now it is set between Uncharted 2 and 3, but you just saw Nathan Fillion and the crew just go like, well, let's have this costume, this character, this one-liner, this act, this move.
Yes.
And for me, that's the perfect way to do it.
I'm with you there. I loved that Uncharted movie, the fan movie. As we know, we did a gushing video on it. But that worked primarily because it was a fan movie and was only 15 minutes long.
True.
It got a lot of praise for nailing that tone in a small sort of scale and not having to weave it over a full movie. They had to balance that with its own original sort of thing. That movie, fan movie, teased its own original narrative, but it was very much callbacks to the games all the way through, and that was to its strength. I think they get a lot of credit for doing that on a small scale, whereas Roberts has a huge uphill battle to sort of make that over 2 hours, let's say.
But I mean, his past work kind of hints at things. I mean, Kong Skull Island, like, I guess divisive film. I honestly really loved it, but like, I mean, a lot of people don't like it. But just looking at the cinematography or the visuals or the comic book panel, video game panel style, like the things that he carries over from those mediums, like you can tell he's a huge fan. He grew up with these 100%. Things, and I think that even the way that he would shoot the action, providing he has the budget to do it right, I think he would at least nail Snake versus a Rex or like Grey Fox versus Snake or whatever.
100%. Not doubting that at all. I think he's going to. I think of all the directors that have been touted for a Metal Gear Solid movie, this guy obviously gets it easy. He's very good at putting those like sort of grandiose action sequences together. I think he would nail those character interactions. It's just for me the difficulty lies in pulling this off. I think it's because he's been so vocal about it. I don't want to be setting himself up for a fall.
I would hope not. I think we'll know a hell of a lot more once we start to get some sort of like, if Sony accept the script, I'll assume he'll be able to say if they do.
Yes.
Because he's so much he can't say at this point. But yeah, like you said, his heart's in the right place. I absolutely love the guy. I absolutely love Kong Skull Island and everything. And I want to see it through. There are some things that hang in the air, like the budget that will get allocated to it, because it could be a massive risk. Obviously, Metal Gear's not been that relevant. Like, it hasn't been in the mainstream for like over a decade. I mean, even Phantom Pain didn't take off as much as the original games.
Well, it's The butcher thing's interesting because I think it'll be a smaller scale movie. He said he wanted it to be R-rated. I don't know if that's going to fly because obviously, you want to get in as many bums in seats as possible. But that's if you were going to be faithful to the franchise, you would do it on a smaller budget, sort of R-rated, not just people like swearing left and right, but to get that sort of the visceralness of those early games. And I think that would be, if he is pushing for that, then I'm more excited than I've ever been.
I think we could do with seeing a little nod as to how he's approaching the script and sort of which games he's picking from and who he's ended up casting. I think once we get an idea of the casting for Snake, Big Boss, Ocelot, whatever, that'll start to bring it more into view. But whatever, you guys can let us know what you think down in the comments below. Are you excited? Or are you a little bit too cautious considering what we've had in the past? I've been Scott from ourculture.com.
I've been Josh from ourculture.com.
I'll catch you soon.
Bye.
Bye.